Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship station, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, you can also join us on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99. In Birmingham, on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, also in the Bloomfield area, also on that channel. On City Cable 15 of Southfield as well, in the city of Southfield. On Channel 10, on the Media Network of Waterford, in Waterford, and of course in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Channel 10. Live to tape at 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. on Orion Neighborhood Television, otherwise known as ONTV. Find us also on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1 The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District, and online on our Facebook pages, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15, facebook.com/LakesFM, and on our website, CivicCenterTV.com, by clicking on our Watch Live link, or by going to My Michigan TV's website at MyMyTV.com to watch us live, find us on demand as well, and their other original programming, as well as information about how you can download and watch MyMyTV on your smart TV and on your smartphone anywhere, anytime. MyMyTV.com, or go to our website at CivicCenterTV.com. Click on our Megacast link. There we have links to every single one of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets that join us every day, Monday through Friday, live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, as well as throughout the afternoons, evenings, and weekends for replays. And on our Megacast page, you'll also find links that will take you to all of our shows and all of our individual interviews on demand. CivicCenterTV.com/Megacast. Right next door to that is our coronavirus page, CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus, where right at the top of the page we have up-to-date information linked to the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can keep up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19 from expert resources on the front lines of the pandemic. A good spot to start if you want to learn more information about COVID-19, about precautionary tactics that you can employ in your daily life, about vaccines, about the spread of the virus, and more. It's a good place to start with the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division, who will also, in many of their publications, have links to supporting materials from other medical institutions, research institutions, and more, who are also doing research on COVID-19 from a variety of different perspectives and for a variety of different reasons, explaining, as I said, the spread of the virus, the variants, the vaccines and booster shots, precautionary tactics, and the efficacy of those tactics as well. Right at the top of our page, CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus. Right below that, articles linked from all across the state of Michigan. We scour news outlets from all areas of the Great Lakes state to find the stories that are making headlines and are most pertinent to Michiganders each and every day. Our top story today on CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus is from our good friends over at the Detroit Free Press, as Governor Whitmer has issued an executive directive to speed up Michigan's pothole repairs. Governor Whitmer, who campaigned in 2018 to promising to quote-unquote fix the damn roads, told the state roads agency on Wednesday to pull out all stops to quickly address Michigan's pothole problem. That includes paying overtime, hiring more contractors, and speeding payments to local road agencies, Governor Whitmer said in a news release after issuing an executive directive to the Michigan Department of Transportation. Quote, "We're kicking this into overdrive," said the governor, who faces re-election in November. Quote, "Dealing with car damage from driving over potholes while on your way to work or school is frustrating for every Michigander. No family should have to spend their hard-earned money on repairing a flat tire or a broken axle because of these potholes. That's why I'm directing the state transportation department to speed up pothole repairs," unclosed quote. A cost for the speed up plan is not yet immediately disclosed by the governor's office. Whitmer said the directive is intended to address a short-term pothole problem, but she will continue to address a long-term fix to the condition of the roads. She directed MDOT to continue broader road improvement projects to prevent potholes and other road surface issues from developing in the first place. The governor said that taking office, the state has replaced or rebuilt 13,000 lane miles of road and over 900 bridges. Her latest budget proposal gives $1 billion boost to the state road agency. In 2020, Governor Whitmer announced the State Transportation Commission approved a 5-year, $3.5 billion road bonding plan after the legislature rejected her proposal for a 45-cent per gallon increase in the state's fuel tax. That full article, as well as supporting materials linked to other articles and other publications from the Detroit free press on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Also making headlines today in the legislature from MLive, Michigan lawmakers are advancing a $2.5 billion tax cut plan. Lawmakers advanced the proposal for slashing taxes on Tuesday, approving the $2.5 billion plan to cut the state income tax rate to 3.9%, expand tax breaks for seniors, and put funding toward paying down pension debt. The Republican-led legislation would bring the state income tax from 4.25% to 3.9%, offering a $20,000 per person income tax exemption for seniors 62 years and older, and drop $1.5 billion in one-time funding into paying down pension debt for local governments, road commissions, and the Michigan State Police. The plan would also create new tax credits for qualified dependents. House members voted 71 to 33 to advance House Bill 5054 to the Senate. They also voted 62 to 42 to pass Senate Bill 768. Both bills earned some support from a handful of Democrats, including Representatives Jewel Jones, a Democrat from Inkster, Karen Whitsitt, a Democrat from Detroit, and Sri Thanadar, a Democrat from Detroit. The House bill, sponsored by Republican Thomas Albert, a Republican from Lowell, would allocate $1.5 billion in one-time funding from the state's general fund surplus to reduce debt and improve the finances of public employee retirement systems. Republican supporters called the proposal a way to offer meaningful tax relief to Michigan residents, while some House Democrats questioned the long-term feasibility of the plans and whether reducing the income tax was the best way to provide targeted tax relief. Quote, "This proposal is a no-brainer," said Representative Albert, again a Republican from Lowell. Representative Albert continued on saying, quote, "If their pensions run out of money, that this income tax relief we're providing seniors won't do them any good. Making this investment now will help deliver promised retirement benefits and essential public services in the future without saddling our children and our grandchildren with more debt," end quote. House Democratic leader Donna Lazinski, a Democrat from CEO Township, argued that the Republican proposal would put an unnecessary strain on the state's revenue and would risk losing American Rescue Plan funding. The federal government requires a state's tax revenue to exceed the amount it did in 2018, prior to the pandemic's effects on the economy and the government coffers. If that condition is not met, the state would need to cut its spending or return American Rescue Plan funds to the federal government. Quote, "This Republican tax shift is the most fiscally irresponsible action we've ever seen before our chamber." That's a stretch. Losing $6 billion in revenue is an astonishing hole in our government, and this wound to our state, our public services, our financial health will pain the people of Michigan for decades, said Lazinski. House Bill 5054, sponsored by Representative Albert, provides $1.5 billion in one-time funding from the general fund surplus to reduce debt and improve the finances of employment retirement systems. Most of the funding would go to pension plans for local governments, road commissions with an additional $350 million to improve financing in the Michigan State Police retirement system. The plan is the latest in a string of tax cut proposals circulated by Michigan officials in light of a record high in revenues in recent years. Quote, "This is the only plan that gives relief to all Michigan families, workers, and seniors. If we can't do it now, when we have millions of dollars of surplus, we're never going to do it," said Representative Hall. The Michigan State Senate recently approved a plan to reduce both the individual income tax rate and the corporate income tax rate to 3.9%. Governor Gretchen Whitmer has proposed repealing Michigan's so-called quote-unquote pension tax and increasing a tax credit for low-income working people from 6% to 20%. The state's corporate tax rate cut would stay the same under both of the bills passed on Tuesday, a change from the Senate-passed version that would have cut it to 3.9%. Tax plans from the legislature and the governor's office represent a statement of priority as budget talks get underway. Quote, "We know that it's easy to sell a tax cut," said Representative Yusuf Rabi during an impassioned floor speech on Tuesday. Representative Rabi continued on, quote, "Things can turn on a dime, and they have before. We know it. We are making a structural change that will gut our state government for years, decades, to come, and close quote. Robbie called the measure, quote unquote, pure and utter fiscal irresponsibility, and close quote. That full article from MLive on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Lastly, making headlines from Bridge, Michigan. For state employees, their mask mandate will end on Thursday. Most Michigan government employees will no longer be required to wear a mask to work beginning on Thursday of this week, unless told otherwise by their department directors. The Michigan Office of State sent a letter to state departments on Monday that employees in standard offices and outdoor settings are generally no longer required to wear masks to protect against COVID-19. However, there are exceptions for employees working in high-risk settings, such as long-term healthcare facilities and correctional facilities. Quote, more changes to policies may be coming in the following weeks, in close quote, said Director of the Office of the state employer, Eliza Estlin Olson, in a letter. Olson continued on saying, quote, we look forward to seeing more of the smiles on our coworkers as they continue with their work, and closed quote. The change comes as school districts and counties recently lifted mask mandates and as the amount of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations have decreased statewide. State agencies may have different policies for visitors and to address specific operational needs. Local health departments and organizations can adopt their own masking requirements as well. According to the Office of State, masking requirements may return as COVID-19 conditions evolve. Jana Nicole, an employee at the Michigan Department of Transportation, said she is concerned about officials lifting the mask mandate because her department is requiring employees to return to the Lansing headquarters or regional offices twice a week beginning in May. Quote, I'm worried because our building has not been remodeled and it has an old air filtration system, and closed quote, said Nicole. Nicole continued on, quote, even before the pandemic, if a cold was being spread around, it seemed like everyone would get it, and closed quote. While Estlin Olson referenced recently relaxed guidelines from the CDC in ending mask requirements, the Michigan Republican Party accused the Whitmer administration of playing politics. Quote, the political science continues to shift as polling shows Democratic policies are becoming more and more unpopular, said Michigan GOP Communications Director Gustavo Portella in a statement on Tuesday. Portella continued on, with majorities on the line in the U.S. House and Senate, along with a number of gubernatorial elections like right here in Michigan, Biden and Whitmer are shifting away from these unpopular policies in an attempt to save their own skins at the ballot box this November. We're not going to let Michiganders forget their policies wreaked havoc on our economy. Also reduced a large number of COVID-19 cases, but who's counting? The CDC, the MDHHS, local health departments. So, yeah, both sides of the coin, somewhat in the right and definitely both in the wrong. All those articles, including that article from Bridge, Michigan, on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as additional supporting materials and helpful materials to learn more about COVID-19 from the CDC, the MDHHS, the Oakland County Health Division, and many of our local municipalities as well. We have a great program ahead of you today coming up at 10:20. Coming up next, Laura Varon Brown of Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit will join me at the bottom of the 10 o'clock hour. We'll be joined by the mayor of Royal Oak, Michael Fournier. Beginning the 11 o'clock hour, we'll be joined by Bob Ennis, the president and founder of the Ennis Center for Children at 11:20. Lauren Williams from MLive will join us to talk about the Detroit Pistons. And at 11:40, we will talk to one of the legendary high school football coaches in the history of Michigan high school football. Kurt Richardson, the longtime head coach of the Clarkston Wolves high school varsity football team, will join us as he is retiring after 35 years at the helm. That'll happen at 11:40. That's all coming up. You are watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal. or chat online at michigan.gov/mycal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Joining us now is the Executive Director and the CEO of Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit. Laura Varon Brown is with us on the Megacast. Laura, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So Gilda's Club, of course, was created in the memory of Gilda Radner, who of course is known from her time with Saturday Night Live and as a comedian as well. Can you tell us about the organization, its mission, and some of the ways it helps people all across the U.S. and the world, but also right here in Metro Detroit?
Well, Gilda's Club is here to support families facing cancer. Our mission is to provide the tools for empowerment and to make sure you're making the right decisions and to make sure that your family is healthy. A healthy family makes healthy outcomes. So men, women, and children, we have free services, more than 140 different programs of support, education, and wellness options. We've been here for over 25 years, and we just, certainly there's been lessons the last 2 years of the need and the isolation of families facing cancer. Always have felt isolated. Of course, the last couple of years, even more isolation. But the programming, it really just strengthens families and helps them get the resources that they need on a pretty complex path. And we try to make the access to it pretty simple. And all our services being free makes it really, really nice for the families to get what they need.
And give us a little bit of insight into its local history here in Metro Detroit. There were originally 8 founders of Gilda's Club here in Metro Detroit. Can you tell us a little bit about those 8 individuals?
Yep, absolutely. In I think it was about 1993, we had 8 women who knew each other in one circle or another, but they were all facing cancer, whether themselves or someone in their family was diagnosed. And they just recognized that there was just such a lack of resources, non-medical, to understand the mental anguish of going through the disease and the complexity of making decisions. They read in the newspaper about an effort in New York that was going on in the memory of Gilda Radner, who, when Gilda was going through cancer, she said, everyone needs a place. They were kind of afraid to give her too much information about her diagnosis, which was ovarian cancer. So she snuck away to a little yellow house with a young therapist who was helping women navigate the medical community and helping them navigate their disease. And when she went in remission, she said, everyone needs a place to understand this disease. So her cancer came back, and it came back really strong. And after she passed away, her friends in New York said, how can we honor Gilda? And they kept going back to her phrase, everyone needs a place. And so that started Gilda's Club in New York. And when the 8 women here saw that, they thought, boy, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. They visited New York, found out about Gilda's Club there and what the effort was. It hadn't even opened yet. And so we were second or third to open here in Metro Detroit. And Gilda, being from Metro Detroit, it is such a purposeful kind of memory and legacy for Gilda.
We're joined by Laura Varon Brown, the Executive Director and the CEO of Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit, joining us on the Megacast. And so there are a number of different programs that your organization provides to those in the community that may be facing cancer, both adults and children. Can you tell us about some of those programs and the ways that people that may be battling cancer are able to engage in them?
I'll give you 2 good examples. One, we have a group called Living with Cancer. We have a lot of cancer-specific groups as well, but our Living with Cancer are for people who are currently diagnosed, currently in treatment within 2 years. And it's in this group facilitated by a licensed counselor. All our counselors are master's level. And they're able to navigate, hear the experiences of what their their peers are going through. And no one understands that more than someone who's in the room that says, you know, I had my chemo yesterday, here's what I experienced, or here's our ways to kind of guard against the side effects. Another example of a good group is a caregiver group. When you're caring for someone in your home, whether it's a child, a parent, or a spouse, or even a friend, it's very, very trying environment to know when to push, when not to push, and how to navigate that. So our caregiver group is very, very powerful for people who are trying to support someone with cancer. And then, of course, you know, when the worst happens, we have bereavement groups, and those, of course, are very healing and very important in our space.
We're joined by Laura Varon Brown, the CEO and the Executive Director of Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit, joining us on the Megacast. The organization also holds a number of different events throughout the year, daily events in some cases and other special events as well. Can you tell us about some of those daily events or regular events that will be happening week to week that people can also engage with?
You know, we have lectures that are open to the public, and those we have our calendar, gildasclubdetroit.org. There's a calendar that goes through all of our offerings. So those are kind of the social events that we have for our membership and for families facing cancer, or those who want to just know a little bit more, whether it's a lecture on a certain cancer, whether it's healthy lifestyle, healthy eating. But then, of course, we have our fundraising events. We have 3 signature events each year. One are coming up is Gilda's Big Night Out, which is our signature fundraiser, and that is April 28th. And that's really a wonderful, empowering night that helps to fund our programming all year.
We're joined by Laura Varon Brown, the Executive Director of Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit, a Share Detroit-supported charity and nonprofit, one of 278 charities and nonprofits in metropolitan Detroit supported by the organization. More information in a couple of places. ShareDetroit.org. You click on their Find Nonprofits page right there on their homepage, and you can search Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit, or go to gildasclubdetroit.org. That is gildasclubdetroit.org. And so, Laura, I understand there are multiple locations throughout the local area for Gilda's Club. So if people are on one side of town versus the other, they're going to be in one area one day and another the other. They can participate in some of these programs and get some of the guidance from the club. Where are your locations?
We have 3 locations. Royal Oak is our headquarters. And then we have the Lake House, the Gilda's Club Lake House, which is in St. Clair Shores, a nice east side location. And then we recently opened in the Durfee Innovation Society in Detroit, which had, the world's worst timing. We opened our doors there. So proud of that nonprofit hub. We opened our doors on March 12th, 2020. So 2 days later, we closed those doors, but we now have a 4th location, which is our virtual location. And the one thing that we learned, we'd done a few things, Facebook Live, some lectures, but the hybrid and virtual option for us is going nowhere. Even in a perfect environment, we have learned that our members who don't feel well, have transportation issues, have childcare issues, that having a virtual component to our program is really, really important now. And we've invested in some really wonderful technology to be able to do that. So the 4th location right now, of course, is our most robust access point.
Laura, there are so many different needs that a person with one form of cancer versus another may need. There's so many that are similar as well. But battling cancer during the pandemic kind of threw a curveball into all of that, as it did with anybody battling any sort of medical condition or other crisis in their life. How did those needs for those battling cancer change over the course of the pandemic? And then how did Gilda's Club, particularly here in Metro Detroit, adjust itself to be able to meet those needs?
We overnight put all our programming online and access, and that was before the investment in technology. But what we learned right away was our members, whether you had a child in the household who had cancer, anyone who was compromised, and certainly compromised with cancer, because even once the vaccine came, they do not hold the antibodies like the rest of us do. We immediately, within 24 hours, were partnering and delivering meals and delivering supplies and trying to help as best we could to have it not be so isolated. But it was an incredibly isolating environment.
So there are ways that people can become members of Gilda's Club. Can you talk about membership and what sort of benefits come from membership versus sort of being on the outside looking in, seeing these programs and maybe wanting to engage?
Years ago, Gilda said that cancer gave her a membership to an elite club that no one wanted to belong to. So that's where we got our members. We don't want to refer to people as patients, because not everyone is a patient who comes either. But we've kind of taken the clinical aspect, and then we partner. We are a wonderful component to the more clinical aspect. But it's simple. People, you go to our website, new member, and we ask a few questions. There is no insurance that's involved in that, no payment, nothing. And then from there, we have a licensed counselor who will walk each family through which part of our program might be best for them, whether it's just an educational component. We have healthy lifestyle. We have yoga every day. So we kind of really go through and assess where they need. If they have children, we have amazing children and teen offerings to help teens see that they're not alone, or children see that they're not alone and that they're not terribly different when your family is kind of toppled upside down pretty urgently. So we just love when new members come on, and you kind of see their heads down, and then you can see that confidence that is raised when they realize the tools that are available to them and how easy it is to get them.
We're joined by Laura Varian Brown, the Executive Director and CEO of Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit. You can learn more information by visiting their website, gildasclubdetroit.org, including signing up for their free membership. Free services with their membership include support groups, bereavement services, healthy lifestyle workshops, including yoga, arts, music therapy, social opportunities, educational lectures, nutritional guidance, and more. Again, Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit's website, gildasclubdetroit.org. And of course, every nonprofit organization it has a variety of different needs. At this time, what are some of the greatest needs of your organization so that Gilda's Club here in Metro Detroit in Michigan can continue to support those that may be battling cancer? Laura, are you able to hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Can't see me. Okay, but you can now hear me. All right. Well, I'll repeat the question. We may have had just a little technical glitch there. Nonprofit organizations all across the board, they have a variety of different needs at different times. At this moment in time, what are the best ways that people in our local area, in our community here in Michigan, can support Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit?
The biggest need is that if you have someone in your circle who's facing cancer, pass along our free services. Our biggest goal is just to serve as many people as we possibly can. Of course, we have financial needs too. The pandemic was very rough on a number of nonprofits, so get involved with whether it's a fundraiser at work or a can drive or one of our fundraising events is really, really important. We have volunteers who help us with our beautiful
To Sophia and Gabrielle. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources,
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all?
You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking. Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link. There you'll find links to every one of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets that join us every day, as well as links that will take you to finding all of our programs and each individual interview on demand. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now by telephone is the mayor of Royal Oak, Michael Fournier, with us on the Megacast. Mayor, thank you for being with us today.
Hey, my pleasure, Tyler. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So, an apartment development was okayed by was okayed at a former contaminated site in Royal Oak. It was a 32-unit apartment building that will be built on that site at Harrison and Delaware. Can you tell us about that project, how it came to be, and what Royal Oak residents can expect to when they see the final product of this building in their city?
Yeah. I think a little bit of historical context on this area. I mean, decades ago, this was a heavy industrial use area. Exactly what most of your listeners are envisioning in their mind. You know, lots of pollution, lots of brownfield redevelopment that needed to occur to make these properties viable. Over the years, we've really transitioned that part of town into what we'll call multifamily, which is more like your industrial lofts and your higher density, replacing that industrial properties with higher density projects. You've seen the Harrison go up there, some beautiful buildings. And this one is just part of the sequence that we see of folks coming in to invest in Royal Oak and really take advantage of this opportunity. You know, the site was contaminated. I think they said they removed 20,000 tons of soil from there. Cost the developer cost over $1 million to get all that out. And now, this proposal came to us, and it's really kind of cool because not only does it take a site and repurpose it for the growing demand of housing in Royal Oak, but it also takes care of an environmental issue. It has a green roof. It's managing stormwater way better than the site is today. And one of the conditions we put in there, too, was to have a couple units there for veteran transition housing and attainable housing. And so, we need to meet the demands here in Royal Oak for people of all backgrounds and incomes. And that was another win for our community here with this project. So, I'm hopeful the developer, construction costs are crazy and everything's going on in the industry, but, he got the green light, and we look forward to the project coming to town.
We're joined by Michael Fournier, the mayor of the city of Royal Oak, joining us on the Megacast. And so with any big project like this, especially when it's going to be 32 units, a lot of new people may be moving into the city, or people may be moving about the city to a more concentrated area. With that, in any community, you typically will see quite a lot of objection or concerns that are expressed. What were some of those concerns, and then how are those addressed by both the city and the developer in finalizing the project plans for this particular unit?
Yeah, I think change is hard. And whenever there's change, I think, rightfully so, neighbors and commissioners and mayors should ask, tough questions to understand, okay, here are all the positives that come with the project. Well, what are some of the downsides that we either have to accept for those positives, or that we can mitigate, through, smart planning, et cetera. You're talking 32 units. We have, when you think about how that property was used in the past as I think it was some sort of oil company. You had trucks going in and out of there all day. We've mitigated the truck traffic in that part of the neighborhood significantly. Our roads are designed to handle thousands of vehicles. And so I think when people think, 32 cars, coming in and out, that sounds like a lot, but in reality, you're not going to notice it, hardly at all. So the roads in that area are designed and they're planned to handle traffic, and I think that people just need to understand that, while there might be a slight increase, it's negligible in most of these cases, especially when you weigh it against all the environmental benefits we get and all the welcoming of new neighbors into our community and how it lifts up property values in the area significantly, transitioning from industrial to residential.
And so, Mary, you mentioned some of the concerns and the addressing of particularly the traffic issue with having so many units in one location and people and a change in the traffic dynamics of the city. That also connects to another issue, which is the road diet in Royal Oak. That's a term that we've seen popping up here and there. It's kind of a new buzzword in construction and in city planning and certainly in traffic control. You have a new road diet that's being applied to road construction in one of the busiest thoroughfares in the city at Rochester Road. Can you tell us about this road diet plan and how it intends to improve the traffic conditions in the city of Royal Oak?
Yeah, great question. I hate the word or the term road diet. If I were a branding person, I'd call it something a little different than its physical characteristics. If I came to you and I said, hey, look, there's an opportunity to redesign our roads that make it safer for pedestrians, make it safer for motorists, and make our neighborhoods more prosperous, and we can do that with minimal inconvenience or negligible inconvenience to drivers. Would you take me up on that deal? And I think most people would say yes. And so when we've had experience with this on Main Street, doing traffic calming, and I can tell you firsthand, I'm up there driving to the high school every single day with my kids. I have a daughter in the high school, and I got kids that play sports, and from lacrosse to swimming to soccer, we're up and down Main Street during rush hour. I have not noticed a difference in our transit time whatsoever, even during the rush hours. Traffic is slower, but it doesn't mean that we're getting to our destination at any length or longer time. So with Rochester, we had our engineers go out, bring in special consultation, really study it inside and out. And all the data, all the science, everything concludes that we can actually make this road safer, reduce crashes. We can make it safer for pedestrians to cross. We have a very walkable city here. We have kids going back and forth from schools or crossing Rochester, a 4-lane highway. It can be challenging sometimes. And we can also, take some of that pavement and put it back to green space, which, significantly reduces stormwater runoff, which is a big concern in Royal Oak. So we're talking about reducing the chances of basement water backups in the surrounding neighborhood. And so we get all these benefits, and what do we see? Well, we see that, at certain times of day, there might be a few seconds delay here and there, but if we retime the traffic lights, there should be, no negative impact to motorists getting to where they need to go, and they get there safer, and the pedestrians are safer, and our neighborhoods are more enjoyable. So I'm pretty happy about what we're going to do on Rochester Road. We had a lot of folks voice their thoughts, opinions, and concerns, and we took those seriously, and we asked those tough questions to our engineer. And we said, show us, hey, is there going to be cut-through traffic? The answer is no. Is there going to be, big backups and everything? The answer is no. And they had, I can't remember how many hundreds of pages of the study that there were, but it showed that, this is a good thing for the city. So those concerns, we share them, we ask the questions, and then we have to make a decision based on facts, and that's what we did, and we think this is going to be a win for everybody.
We're joined by Michael Fournier, the mayor of the city of Royal Oak, joining us on the Megacast. And so with this proposal in place, with the plans that are in place for this quote-unquote road diet in Royal Oak, how long would some of these repairs, some of these changes, this refocusing of that thoroughfare take?
Yeah, we're going to start in 2023. It shouldn't take, hopefully during that construction season, we'll be able to complete it. And yeah, there will be inconveniences, when we start it and finish it with any sort of construction. But, we govern based on, the next generation, not just, the next month. So, yep, there's a period where it's going to be, a little challenging with construction, like we see on any road that needs to be repaired and upgraded. And by the way, Rochester Road diet or not, would also be going under construction anyhow. We have the I-75 construction that has been, pretty painful for a lot of folks in this area. And so that will be around the same time, but nothing unmanageable. And so we'll have a few months there where things are a little tough, but I think the outcome of it, is going to be, all the benefits we get from it are just going to be well worth the patience of construction. And in the long term, because we have less road, we have less maintenance costs, we can plow the road quicker. There's a lot of other benefits just above and beyond safety that, we're bringing to taxpayers and to residents in the area.
More information on their website, romi.gov. That's romi.gov to learn more about the city of Royal Oak. We're joined by its mayor, Michael Fournier, on the Oakland County Megacast, on your family of TV, radio, and other media outlets to join us each and every day for this program, including your radio homes, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Mayor, another issue that arose recently in the news was a proposed pot facility that's just 88 feet away from the Oakland Schools Technical Campus Southeast in the Royal Oak area. They're asking for a public hearing to address this issue, try to find some common ground or some solutions to this issue of having a potential facility that close to a school facility. Can you touch on that issue a little bit and what the city's communications, both with Oakland Schools Technical Campus and with the owners of this particular property, have been thus far in trying to mitigate this issue?
Yeah, so a little bit of history. I mean, we've been sort of slow to implement, the voters' wish to have marijuana establishments in the city of Royal Oak. Voters overwhelmingly, like 70%, said, on the state ballot initiative that they wanted to legalize marijuana for retail, recreational establishments. We followed up with a survey, and, we said, okay, well, what did you mean by that, voters? And it was really clear, that they wanted these establishments. They preferred them to be in industrial zoned areas. And then we went to work writing our ordinances. So it's clear to everybody, the mayor and commission, we have been completely out of the application approval process. So we gave some overall criteria, for the city manager and his team to evaluate. We didn't want this to be a political process. We wanted this to be a process managed by public safety, by the city manager, planning, et cetera. So we went through that entire process. We put out zoning maps. We took in feedback from residents and constituents all over, and a map was put out, and an applicant came through, and I didn't know who the applicant was until a few weeks ago when the city manager published their recommendations. And I understand where everybody's coming from, but there are a lot of what I can say, because there's always litigation with marijuana. What I can say is that there's always nuances to everything, to zoning law, to definitions, to things like that. So the city is looking at that very carefully and making sure that we're trying to be fair to everybody that is affected, including the school, the petitioner. And we did have a public hearing at the Planning Commission, and this will be certainly brought to the table to the Royal Oak City Commission. I have to say, I mean, look, I'm not. I'm just the elected official. This isn't our full-time jobs and everything. Mm-hmm. I was hoping that, if Oakland Schools had some issues, they would have contacted us and reached out to us earlier in the process. I have yet to be contacted by Oakland Schools, but I'm open to hearing what their concerns are and to talk to them and have that dialogue. I've talked to our superintendent of Royal Oak Schools. We have a really good relationship. It's not that folks aren't being heard. I just think that when it comes to this legislation, it's new to everybody. It's really complicated. I think the folks that designed these bills from the state level, built in some complexities that quite frankly create a lot of issues. So I look forward to hearing what my fellow commissioners have to say, what the public has to say. And we're not, to be clear, the site plan is what's up for debate when it comes back to the city commission here in a month or so, or whenever it comes back. The applications were decided by staff.
We're joined by Michael Fournier, the mayor of the city of Royal Oak, joining us on the Megacast. Mayor, just another minute or so before we'll say goodbye. At this time, any other projects, initiatives, or other news from Royal Oak that residents of Royal Oak and those in the surrounding area should be aware of?
Yeah, we opened up our Centennial Commons Park, a beautiful park. We're eager to see all of our friends from Royal Oak and neighboring communities come down and enjoy it. For the next couple weeks, we have a skating rink right outside our farmers market coming off Winter Blast. We encourage everyone maybe come down, see a show, have some dinner, and take the family out and skate under some lights and music. It's really a cool thing, and we hope that's a mainstay for years to come. And so, as we start to, pull out of COVID, remember the unique businesses we have here in Royal Oak, the small business owners that have stuck it through this pandemic, and come out and show your support. We got something really unique going on here in Royal Oak, and we just can't wait to see everybody back.
Mayor, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Take care.
You as well. You can learn more information, keep up to date on everything that's going on in the city of Royal Oak by visiting their website at romi.gov. That's romi.gov. We're going to take a break and continue on with the second hour of the program. The Michigan Megacast will kick off in just a few minutes with Bob Ennis, the president and founder of the Ennis Center for Children. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. If there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left. Make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more about the Michigan Megacast by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link, where you'll learn more information about everywhere we broadcast live, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MyMy. Learn more information about MyMy on mymitv.com. That's mymitv.com, where you can also find more information on how you can download the smart TV and smart phone app for MyMy for free as well. Joining us now is the president and the founder of the Ennis Center for Children. Bob Ennis is with us on the Megacast. Bob, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So your organization works with abused and neglected children, has done so for over 43 years here in the state of Michigan, reaching in that time over 3,500 Michigan children and families in crisis. What was your motivation? You're the founder of this organization. What was your motivation initially 43 years ago to found this organization, and what is the mission of the organization at this time?
Well, I founded it because I was in foster care myself, but it wasn't the formal foster care. I was in foster care by my grandparents, which is not unusual. My parents had issues, and my grandmother and uncles and grandfather came and got me and put me in foster care. And I guess I knew back 8 or 9 years old I was going to eventually work with children and families. And many years later, I'm still doing it. So the mission is to return kids home when we can, and we can't, to create a family for them through adoption or some other method, through a relative or someone, so that they have a forever home.
And so you have many locations across the state of Michigan, helping children all across our state that are in a situation of abuse or neglect, or even just in a situation where their family might be in crisis and the children are in need of additional services at any given time. So with these locations across the state, all of them have pretty similar services provided as the other. What are some of the services that are provided to these children, but also to their families who are in a really difficult situation?
Okay, well, in addition to, quote, traditional foster care, which is the court removes the child after PS substantiates abuse or neglect, and the court decides to go into foster care, then the court contracts with us. So then you see children and their families, visits, sometimes supervised visits to families who have maybe severe abuse issues that you have to observe and hopefully teach them how to better interact with their children. But in addition to those services, we also provide therapy for families and children ourselves. We have our own psychiatrist, our own trained licensed therapist, et cetera. And we also create other programs that we think are important. We've been for the last 7 years doing a lot of art therapy, but not traditional, just drawing. Everything from tap dancing to music to dance, to whatever it may be, to get a child to learn how to express themselves and to socialize with other children. In fact, I just got off a meeting where we were working with a national organization that's using some of these kids' poetry, which is sometimes pretty devastating, with a lot of suicidal ideation for your young children. And so we're always mindful that we have to treat those children and families to get them home. When we can't, then the court terminates rights, then we move towards adoption as an option once the rights are terminated and the state legally becomes their parent. So in addition to that, we do tutoring, mentoring, individual counseling, a lot of activities for our kids and exposures to different things in their own communities and better ways to choose life choices, not just playing pool or hanging out in the streets. What other things might you expose yourself to that you then might experience to teach you recreational and social skills? So that's a few of the things we do. We also run delinquency programs in Wayne County heavily. It's now a community-based treatment program run by one of ours. We have Hamtramck, Highland Park, and part of the East Side.
We're joined by Bob Ennis. He is the founder and the president of the Ennis Center for Children. More information on this organization by visiting their website at enniscenter.org. That is enniscenter.org, with 7 locations throughout the state of Michigan. You can learn more information about all of those locations on their website as well. And so, Bob, you mentioned community-based interventions are a critical part of the mission of your organization, is to involve the community in some of these intervention and mediary tactics that your organization is employing to children and to families that may be in crisis, to help them through that time in their life. Just how important how effective can a community-based intervention be in comparison to some other traditional interventions that may be there in helping the child or helping the family smoothly as much as possible get through whatever crisis they may be undergoing?
Well, the first thing I think after all these years, and hopefully we learned it a long time ago, but we have to learn it over and over again. And that is, eventually most children are going to go home. If you don't deal with the community to have them have resources, just like if you get sick, you go to the doctor, right? Unfortunately, many of the kids who get in the system go home, something happens, and they call back the system to get back in the system. If the community understands that these children are like any other children that need support, need help. Maybe they've had more trauma than many children, maybe they have not. They need to be supported in the old term of village. If the village isn't there, we have to create it. Again, kids are gonna eventually go home. Even in our adoptions we do, and we do a lot of adoptions in a year, eventually those kids are gonna find their birth parents. And they're gonna go back to the roots, so to speak. So if you're not dealing with the roots, how do you ever get the plant to grow? In this case, that's a poor analogy maybe, but I think the best definition of parenting I ever heard was to give a child roots and give a child wings. And often we don't realize that we've got to have the community to help us to reroot, if I can put it that way, and support the family and the children when something goes wrong. Getting in the system is easy. Getting out, quite frankly, often is hell. So the community is vastly important. For us to be able to function and our kids to be able to function well.
So if someone is interested, or a family is interested in being a foster parent or a foster family and being associated with your organization, with the Ennis Center for Children, what is that process like? What are the requirements? And what do these individuals and families then undergo in the vetting process before they would be able to have the opportunity to foster a child or children?
Well, first off, they contact us primarily through our website, depending on where they are, and wherever they contact us, they'd be routed to the facility and the closest to them in Southeast Michigan, because we're primarily in Southeast, from Saginaw all the way over to Monroe. The vetting process is very stringent. It takes about 2.5, 3 months at best to get a person licensed to become a foster parent. We want to make sure we make the right match, that we've interviewed the people in the family to make sure that they're suitable, have no criminal record that relates to hurting children, that they're over 21 years old, that they have the means to take care of themselves, and they're not utilizing the little money they get in terms of age-appropriate board and care just for themselves. We want to make sure what the impact is on the other children, the primary children, the birth children in that home, so we don't disturb that terribly, because the child coming in is going to have trauma, and they're going to usually raise some heck for a while. So that affects husband, that affects other siblings. And we want to make sure that works well. And we're available 24/7 to those families. They get training and retraining. They get physicals. They get background checks. They get everything. And then we continue to do that training ongoing. But the key is support. To us, raising children is a job. Some people get angry with me because I say that, but I think it is a job. But it's a job you have to do with love and concern. If you don't get support, it's hard to do that.
We're joined by Bob Ennis. He is the founder and the president of the Ennis Center for Children, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. You can learn more information about the Ennis Center for Children at enniscenter.org. That is enniscenter.org, or by calling 888 888-200-8915, 888-200-8915. Bob, there are many ways to support the organization, to support its efforts in providing these interventions and these supports to families and children throughout the state of Michigan, on top of being a foster parent or a foster family. What are some of the other ways that people can help your organization, help these children that are in a crisis or are just in need of support from their community at any given time?
A lot of your lists would go back before you were born to the Sears catalog, but many of the things that we need are tutoring, support, mentorships. We always can use money, can use clothing, but we take mostly, it's very, very gently used, if at all, but new clothes, because many of our kids have not had the right clothes that they need to have. They come to care oftentimes with garbage bags. That's another thing. Dental projects, dental utensils like toothbrushes, toothpaste, overnight bags so that kids not walking around with a garbage bag. Just 1,000 different things, everything you need for your child. Our children only get roughly $400 a year for clothing, and their incidentals and whatever. That's not enough money to make it. So our foster parents often put money out of their own pocket. So birthday stuff, at Christmas time, we need gifts and stuff for the families, that they have to have. And we try to make Christmas every day if we can, i.e., I got money for my good grades. We want to be able to do that for our children. We want to be able to get them a bike if they've done well and earn a bike, those types of things. So any way you'd want to help any other child is the kind of help we need at Ennis Center.
We're joined by Bob Ennis, the founder and the president of the Ennis Center for Children, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on the Michigan Megacast on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, and more information on the Ennis Center for Children at enniscenter.org. Bob, I understand you have a fundraiser that's coming up soon. Can you tell us about that fundraiser and how people can participate?
I can tell you about the big one that comes up June 17th. Sure. If that's the one you have on your list. That's our annual golf outing. It's our biggest fundraiser. It's held, at the Coyote Preserve over in Fenton, Michigan, and we find people will travel all over to golf, and that's a good thing. And that money, I think it's about early birds $195. About 50% of that money, or 40%, goes to you. Because we're a 501c3, we're a church tax-wise in terms of that. So that goes up. That helps us to support our children going forward. We're trying a new thing coming up too. I don't know the date on that. You may have it from my development officer. We're trying a virtual wine tasting. I've forgotten the day of that, but that one, I don't know if she gave you that or not. That's coming up soon as well. And that'll be the first time we've tried that. So at least people will be at home if they indulge too much on the wine. But that money would go directly, again, to help servicing our children and their families. But the tutoring thing, I really want to go back to mentioning again. In some of our communities, and many of them, in fact, a third of the people cannot read beyond the third grade level. So mentoring and tutoring from retired school teachers or other volunteers, because if you can't read, and you don't function beyond the third grade, and you have domestic violence and you have drugs, and poverty in your home, you're likely not just to go to foster care, you're likely to go to jail. So we need all the help we can to change the system around to make it better. And that's a project we're working on right now. That's why I was a little late getting to this meeting.
We're joined by Bob Ennis. He is the president and the founder of the Ennis Center for Children, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Bob, just another couple of minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Is there any other information at this time that would be important for our audience to know about your organization, other ways that they can help as well?
Please check out our website. Look at us on Facebook. Look at some of the many opportunities that we have. Again, you can always volunteer. You can look into this system and see as a total system, we're very short of foster parents, and this whole system needs to be overhauled. And we're in the process of doing that. I can't say it on this broadcast. It'd take too long. We've been working 3 years to overhaul it. But it needs to be overhauled because we're not doing the best job we can do, because we often follow the child and don't realize the child comes from that family, comes from that community, comes from medical issues. We have to integrate those issues. So pediatricians and doctors listening in a catchment area, we need you as well, because most of our kids have Medicaid and many doctors don't take it, but our kids need to do that. Our kids only get one pair of glasses. I know you and I both are wearing glasses, but they only get one pair a year. And so people, ophthalmologists who can maybe donate some of those things would be very helpful to us. So I could make those lists long, but those are some of the immediate types of needs we need now. But we're very blessed to be fortunate enough to service these families and treat them with respect.
More information and more ways that you can help by visiting enniscenter.org. Bob, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for the interview. Have a blessed day.
You as well. You can learn more information again about the Ennis Center for Children, and as well as ways that you can get involved by visiting enniscenter.org. We're going to take a break on the Michigan Megacast for the last 40 minutes or so of the show that we have today. We're going to focus almost entirely on sports throughout Michigan. We'll start in general at the professional level with the Detroit Pistons. Coming up next, Lauren Williams, the MLive beat writer for the Detroit Pistons, will join us. And then at 11:40, we will speak to one of the legends of high school football coaching in the state of Michigan, the longtime coach of the Clarkston Wolves out of Oakland County. Richardson will join us as he is retiring after 35 years at the helm at Clarkston High School. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
To Sofia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Last night, the Pistons defeated the Charlotte Hornets 127-126, the first time in 15 matchups that the Pistons have defeated their fellow Eastern Conference team over there in Charlotte. And joining us to talk about that historic win last night at the 15-game losing streak and more with the Detroit Pistons is MLive beat writer Lauren Williams. Lauren, thank you for being with us again.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So, what were some of your key takeaways from the game last night against the Charlotte Hornets? One of the surprises, of course, was the play, especially of late, of Kelly Olynyk and the three-point shooting from the Pistons as well, and that comeback, especially the game-winning shot at the end of that game as well. This is a 15-game losing streak over the span of multiple seasons. The Pistons have been really struggling against the Hornets. What were some of your key takeaways from last night's game?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is, as you mentioned, the fact that Kelly Olynyk really turned it on Sunday night. He'd been struggling a lot since he'd come back from COVID. I mean, this is the second time, since his return in January that he scored in double figures. I mean, the last time he did that was, right when he returned in those first two games before he entered COVID protocols. But since he's returned after that, he's kind of struggled a little bit. But, he's finding his footing a little bit. He hit that game-winning shot, which we found out was his first game-winning shot in his 9-year career. But I think the other takeaway is that this was an all-around team effort. The fact that you had, at least 3 guys scoring 20 or more points, you had several players just scoring in double figures, alone. Isaiah Livers, who this was his second game in the NBA, he knocked down 2 3-pointers in the second quarter. So, you could look from top to bottom of the rotation that Coach Casey rolled out last night and see that, almost everyone had an impact on the offensive end. Defensively, they were really good. The last 2 times they played the Hornets this season, they put up 140 or more points on them. The fact that they cut them under that, I think, is progress. And it shows that this team is learning. They are developing. They still have a ways to go, but we're seeing that they have, the right foundational pieces that, can really make this a perennial champion.
Yeah, anytime you're holding LaMelo Ball to under 20 points, defensively you're doing something right. Of course, you had 30 points plus for Terry Rozier and almost 30 for Miles Bridges. But as you said, great numbers for the Pistons. 4 guys in double figures, 3 of which scored 20 points or more. Of course, Sadiq Bey and Jeremy Grant, the highest scorers of those 3 over 20, 26 from Jeremy Grant, 28 from Sadiq Bey. This is just one of many pretty impressive wins over the last 10 games against some formidable opponents. Charlotte's a team that's a playoff team. You have other contenders like Cleveland that they defeated recently, the Boston Celtics as well. It seems like for those key young guys, that young core for the Pistons, particularly I'm looking at guys like Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart, Bey especially, it seems like they've taken another pretty significant step forward of late, going into the All-Star break and certainly now after the All-Star break. What seems to be different with this team post-All-Star break, knowing that it's not going to be a playoff team, it's going to be a team that continues to struggle, but these young guys, really that hope is that they're taking that step forward?
Oh, absolutely. I think, Coach Casey said it best in that first practice we met with him after the All-Star break, that he wanted his team to be locked in and he wanted them to kind of understand what exactly it is and where exactly they needed to improve. And so I think one of the key things that we've seen with, as you mentioned, Sadiq Bey, he's continuing to build off of, his offensive growth and the fact that he's able to not only take shots from outside, but he also can take it to the basket and draw contact. I think one of the things that we've also seen with Isaiah Stewart that doesn't often show up on the stat sheet is his ability to set those screens. Cade has benefited from it. We've seen Corey Joseph benefited from it. We've seen just a lot of the team's guards benefit from it. Obviously, I think one of the key things that Isaiah will work on this offseason is probably his outside shooting, which Coach Casey said the team had taken a step back from just because they wanted him to focus on that day job. And he's focusing on it pretty well. So I think we're seeing that this team is paying attention to where they need to grow. And, it's only going to go up from here.
Of course, at the trade deadline, the Pistons made a really interesting move. They were able to acquire a young guy that's been struggling of late, hasn't played much this season because of conflicts with the Sacramento Kings and other issues as well. And Marvin Bagley, the third, picked up at the trade deadline. Josh Jackson, some other pieces dealt to the Sacramento Kings in exchange. And we haven't seen a whole lot of Marvin Bagley just yet, but what we have seen of him seems to be more of that Marvin Bagley of old, kind of more along the lines, not quite as impressive necessarily as you would be hoping for a guy that was a top 5 draft pick just years ago and was so impressive in the college ranks, but more along those lines than before. For Marvin himself, what in your discussions with him and your colleagues' discussions with him since he's arrived in Detroit has sort of made that change for him philosophically and just the way he feels in the locker room in Detroit with this opportunity versus the last couple of years in Sacramento?
I think it's kind of one of those situations where it's a simple change of scenery. And we've seen so many times that Troy Weaver likes to take a chance on a guy who some people might consider a reclamation project. He did it with Josh Jackson, and unfortunately for Josh Jackson, that didn't work out, and now he's in Sacramento. We kind of saw it a little bit with Trey Lyles, and, he ended up being a valuable piece that they could trade to the Sacramento Kings in that 4-team trade. So I think, with Marvin Bagley, we're seeing him already kind of take this opportunity by the horns, so to speak. I also think the fact that this team is made up of guys who are of similar age to him. His point guard is going to be a similar age to him, if not younger. Between Killian Hayes or Cade Cunningham, those guys are both 20. So he fits the timeline that the Pistons want in terms of this rebuild. He provides them that athletic big that they've been lacking much of this season. I think with Bagley, the biggest thing that has stood out to a lot of people is his defense. And, while it's not that people are saying that he's an incompetent defender, but he just has room to grow in that area. And we've seen a few flashes of it here and there. So I think Coach Casey and the fact that this team is a defensive-minded team might be the best fit for him to see that area of growth.
Yeah, we're seeing more of a return to form statistically also for him. Not playing as many minutes as he did at the height of his time in Sacramento, but still 11.5 points is his current average with the Detroit Pistons. Shooting pretty well from the field, 52.6% from the field. His three-point percentage still very low, but he wasn't much of a three-point shooter previously either. And so seeing some progress from Marvin Bagley III and knowing that for the Pistons going forward, this is an opportunity to either develop a young guy with high potential into another piece to add into that young core going forward with this rebuild, but also it's coming at very low risk because his contract's quite favorable, even depending on what success he has throughout the rest of the year that will affect his option.
Exactly. I mean, I believe his option is $7.3 million. If he doesn't meet the criteria that's set out for him, whether that's, I think, 4,000 minutes by the end of the season or 41 games started. I mean, there are only 21 games left in this season. So we know that he's not really going to meet that criteria yet. But again, his upside is just so high. The fact that he's only 22. I think the only thing that might hurt him a little bit is his injury history. I mean, he's only played 4 games with the Pistons, and he's already out for one of those for his 5th game and with this team with an ankle injury. So time will tell if we'll see him tomorrow when they face the Wizards, when they'll really, really need him, especially with Gafford and Thomas Bryant and a couple of the other bigs that they have on that team. So, I think that's one thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on is that injury history and if it does have an impact on him here, as well as mentioned, whether he can get up to speed quickly defensively.
Yeah, he's only played over at least half a season or more twice in his career. His rookie season, 62 games and 43 games with Sacramento in his 3rd season. We're joined by Lauren Williams, Pistons beat writer with MLive Media Group, joining us on the Megacast. Looking forward, still a lot of young talent on the Pistons, players playing very impressively in their roles, especially in their more starring roles, guys like Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, we've talked about them, but those role players also down the line also being pretty impressive in their own way. Of course, we've talked numerous times about the progress of Killian Hayes and where that kind of project of a prospect for the Pistons might be going forward. But other guys down the line also that decisions are going to need to be made on pretty soon include Hamidou Diallo, who's had a very impressive season off the bench for the Pistons. Also, where do you see the future of these guys in Detroit? Where does the Pistons organization see these guys incorporated into their future, if at all?
Yeah, I think, one of the benefits of this team this year is that they have a lot of cap space going into this offseason now that Blake Griffin's contract is off of the books. It'll allow them to be a lot more competitive in terms of who they target this offseason. But I think a lot of that money might be spent on trying to retain guys like Frank Jackson and Hamidou Diallo, who, have benefited from the playing time that they get with this team. Both of them are spark plugs off the bench. They're both guys that Troy Weaver brought in. And I don't see any reason why they wouldn't want to try and keep them around, especially because they are, as I mentioned, those spark plugs off of the bench. I mean, Hamidou Diallo, we've seen him time and time again kind of help change the pace of the game, the course of the game with his just electricity when he comes off the bench. And he's the type of guy that the team wants to keep around because he doesn't care what his role on this team is. He just wants to be an impact player. And I think they're going to need guys like that, especially because they have stars in, as you mentioned, Cade Cunningham and a rising star in Sadiq Bey.
Yeah, and right there in the same age group as a lot of those guys, too, that can grow with that core. 23 years old for Hamidou Diallo. We're joined by Lauren Williams, Pistons beat writer with M Live. Joining us on the Megacast, of course, the Pistons destined for another lottery selection this year. Very likely going to be in the higher end of those lottery odds. Top 5, certainly, potentially top 3 once again. The guys at the top of the board that are being looked at this point in time, Pablo Banchero from Duke, Jabari Smith Jr. of Auburn, and then Chet Holmgren, of course, the number 1 guy on that board at this time from Gonzaga. Other guys that are kind of down the line also that may garner some interest from the Pistons would be someone like Jaden Ivey from Purdue. Where do you see at this moment in time, given the play of the young core for this Pistons team, some of those holes that are needed in their starting lineup and in their depth as well, where do you see at this point in time the direction the Pistons are looking as we're approaching the draft lottery over the summer and then the draft?
I think just because of where they are development-wise and talent-wise, they're going to go in a similar direction that they did last season or last offseason, where they just took the best guy in the draft. They're at a point where they can't really say, I want this position or that position. I think they're just going to try and find the best person who can provide them with the versatility that they like to seek, because that's something that they prioritize. And it'll definitely affect the decisions they make going forward as to, you know, some of the veteran guys that they keep around. But I think at the top of, or at the end of the day, they want to get somebody who is the best guy. And if that means that's Paolo or Jabari or Chet Holmgren, then that's who they're going to go for.
Yeah, best player available, often the best route available for a team that's struggling but rebuilding and has some direction and has some promise. Lauren, just another minute before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that you're working on right now in terms of stories for the Pistons that maybe we're not hearing a whole lot about from behind the scenes that would be interesting for our audience to keep an eye on at mlive.com?
Not particularly right now, just because of, you know, the direction that this season is. And, you know, I think a lot of the stuff that we'll be focusing coming up is that draft content and finding out which, as you said, might be the best fit depending on where they fall, whether that's 1, 2, or 3, because of right now being the second worst team in the league. So we'll just keep an eye on that and we'll go from there.
And you can keep an eye on it with Lauren on the website at mlive.com/Pistons to read all of her articles. Lauren, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
(211), how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. You can learn more information about the show by visiting our website, civiccentertv.com, and clicking on our Megacast link. You'll find links to all of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets, including My Michigan TV, and find all of our shows and each individual interview on demand. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now, he is retiring after 45 years with the Clarkston Wolves football program, 35 of which he has served as their head coach. Kurt Richardson joins us now on the Megacast. Coach, thank you for being with us.
Oh, no problem. Glad to be here.
Appreciate having you on. So 35 seasons at the helm coaching the Clarkston Wolves down in Oakland County. You were retiring along with longtime assistant coaches Phil Price, Steve Pearson, and John King after you all kind of reached a mutual agreement that this is the time. This is a good time for us to step away and call it a career after such long and illustrious careers at Clarkston. For you and for your assistant coaches that also are retiring alongside of you, what made this the right time? What made this feel like the right time to step away?
Well, there wasn't any one big thing. It's more or less a gut feeling. It's something we had talked about the last 2 years. And we didn't feel right The last 2 years, this year, it just felt the right thing to do. I wanted to go out with a good taste in my mouth. We've been pretty good for a while, and I didn't want to end it on a bad season. I also wanted the cupboards to be full for the next guy coming in, so he steps in and just continues our winning tradition.
And so, over your time with Clarkston, 274 wins, 98 losses, and 16th in state history in total for wins as the head coach. And of course, being with the program for that long, you've seen a lot of young men and others come through your program and go on to bigger and better things, both in football and beyond. What are some of your great memories that you can go into for your 35 years with the Clarkston Wolves football program as their varsity football coach?
Well, obviously the state championships, they jump out at you right away. But it's been more than state championships. It's been the relationships, like John King, who's leaving with us. He played for me back in the day. A lot of our assistant coaches are former Clarkston players. So it's a lot more than the championships. It's about the relationships. We've had great kids here. We've had great families. So that's really the big thing for me.
When you started with Clarkston 45 years ago, you started as an assistant coach. After 10 years as an assistant, you became the head coach. You've been the head coach for 35 years of your 45 with the program. If someone would have told you 45 years ago that you would have been with that program for 45 years, 35 of which you would have been the head coach, won multiple championships, had a record 16th in state's history in total wins, what would you have said?
I would have told them they were crazy. When I took it, I was raw as could be. I had some great guidance by the people I worked for, Rob White, Walt Winnemko, and did everything I could to learn every book I could find, every video I could find, talk to coaches, and here we are.
Did you ever expect that you would be continuing as the coach, or as a coach, and then as the head coach for Clarkston for so long? Did you ever imagine when you took that job that you were going to be involved with this program for years and years?
No, and it's kind of flown by. It's not like, you say, okay, well, this is 20 years, this is 25. It's when I look back on it now, it's just flown by.
Yeah, you've been part of a number of really historic games here in the state of Michigan, including, I recall the 2017 state championship game. I was involved in the radio broadcast for your opponent, for the West Bloomfield Lakers broadcast of that game. One of the more peculiar games we've ever seen at the MHSAA level, and in my lifetime, I call it the weirdest football game I've ever seen. A great defensive matchup, really odd of course on the scoreboard, being that it ended 3-2. Can you talk about that from the coach's perspective, having gone through that? Obviously, there's a benefit of you being on the winning side with the 3 points that your team had scored versus West Bloomfield's 2. Talk about that experience and how that championship stands out among all the ones that you had been involved in, both winning and participating in the final game.
Well, it's definitely special. I mean, you say 3-2 and people kind of laugh. And, they had beaten us earlier in the year pretty good. Yeah. And we changed our philosophy going in a little bit. And, we kind of sat back and hoped that they were going to make mistakes and we could take advantage of them, and that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, it was a very interesting game. It was a great defensive matchup, as I said. Both your team and West Bloomfield's were excellent on the offensive side of the ball, and your defenses really came out and played and made that game what it was, such a low-scoring game. It was a safety early on in the game, the first quarter, and then no scoring throughout the rest of the game till late in the fourth, where your team marched down the field faced a fourth down, kicked the field goal, and then made a big defensive stop with about a minute left to play. So really classic game, that 2017 Division I state championship game where Clarkston defeated the West Bloomfield Lakers 3-2. So for you, Kurt, 35 years as the head coach, 45 with the program as an assistant and as a head coach in total. What about coaching will you miss the most now as you go into your retirement?
The relationships, definitely the relationships. My defensive guys are my best friends. They're the guys I've been close to for a long time. The offensive guys are the younger guys that have come up through the program. The relationships with opposing coaches. We play in a very good league, and we've had some great battles throughout the years. But then probably the biggest relationship is the relationship with the kids. I've got the privilege of coaching some awesome kids, and hopefully I can still stay in contact with them.
We're joined by Kurt Richardson, longtime head coach of the Clarkston Wolves High School varsity football team, joining us on the Megacast. 35 years as the head coach of that program, 45 years in total with their football program there at Clarkston High School in Oakland County, retiring as the 16th winningest coach in MHSAA history in varsity football. Joining us on the Megacast. So now you go into retirement and the program continues on. Do you plan on being involved in either the hiring process of the next head coach or even just in transition as the program moves into a new era for really the first time in almost 40 years without you as the chief leader of the program?
Well, I'm not going to be involved in the selection process at all, but I am going to be involved in the transition. I'm going to sit down with him and say, here's all the good things. Here are the things that didn't work, and not so much X's and O's, but there's so much that goes into running a high school program behind the scenes. And, after that, it's going to be their show. I'm going to be on the sidelines Friday night, cheering like crazy, but that's the extent of it.
Anybody that's able to stay in a coaching position for as long as you have in one program at one school or with one organization at any level has learned a lot about maintaining leadership, maintaining positive leadership that people look up to. So for you, as other coaches are coming up the rankings, both in the OAA and the league that Clarkston plays in across the state of Michigan and beyond, that are looking up to coaches that have had that longevity, what advice do you have for other coaches that are coming up to maintain the level of leadership that you have at Clarkston for so many years?
You've got to surround yourself with good people. Football, more than any other sport, you've got to rely on your assistants. There's so many different, jobs in football. And you've got to have good assistants that like being assistants, assistants that are going to stay with you. Steve and Phil have been with me over 30 years, and the other guys, it's been a long period. We have very little changeover in our program, and that creates that consistency. That's all the way down to the junior high. And, those coaches know what I expect, so their kids end up knowing what I expect from them. So the continuity of coaches and is probably the biggest thing.
Kurt, just another couple of minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. Anything else that you'd like to say to your community in Clarkston, to the football community, to the high school athletics community in the state of Michigan as you complete your 35 years as the head coach of the Clarkston Wolves varsity football program?
Well, I'd just like to thank, we've got a great tradition here of athletics, and we get great support from the town. And it's not just the people that come to the game when we need something financially. We put up a field house that costs $750,000, and we've got that all by donations and stuff. So the community of Clarkston is very special. They always step up. Thanks to all the former players I hope they're better people because they've been in this program. Thanks again to all the assistant coaches, and thanks to the administration too. We've had, sometimes you can have an administrator that isn't gung-ho athletically, and that can hurt you, but we've had great support from the top to the bottom here.
Kurt, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We've been joined by Kurt Richardson, the now retiring head coach of the Clarkston Wolves after 35 years at the helm, retiring alongside longtime assistant coaches Phil Price, Steve Pearson, and John King, all retiring together, that longtime team of coaches over there in Clarkston with their varsity football program. We're going to take one final break. On the other side, we'll review where you can find all of our materials from the Megacast and more information on COVID-19 and other top stories across the state, and wrap up today's edition of the Megacast.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Thank you for tuning in to today's edition of the Michigan Megacast. You can learn more information about everywhere that we broadcast live and live to tape, and find all of our individual interviews and each full episode of the Megacast on our website, civiccentertv.com/Megacast, where you'll find all today's interviews there mid to late afternoon. We want to give a big thank you to Kurt Richardson, longtime head coach of the Clarkston Wolves varsity football team there at Clarkston High School, Lauren Williams from MLive, their Pistons beat writer, Bob Ennis, president and founder of the Ennis Center for Children, Michael Fournier, the mayor of Royal Oak, who joined us by phone, and Laura Varon Brown of Gilda's Club of Metro Detroit. Again, more information on civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Big thank you to our crew as well. Calvin Brown, our technical director, keeping us flowing throughout the entire show, switching all the cameras, getting the graphics in, making sure everything looks good on our end. Larry Nyland, the king of television, producing our show, getting all of our guests ready to come onto the program and arranging each one of our programs every single day. Jared Clark out at the office of My Michigan TV, our Zoom producer on today's edition of the Megacast, and Maddie Muschin out at Master Control as well. Learn more information on COVID-19 and other top stories in the state of Michigan by going to our website at civiccentertv.com and clicking our coronavirus link, where we have links to the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. On My Michigan TV, Steve Lato Live is next, and we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m.